The price of Bitcoin right now is $28,232, and over the past couple of days, the price of Bitcoin had been going up quite significantly. It hit $29,000 just yesterday, and it's come back down to $28,000. At this point in time, I'm seeing a lot of people opening up short positions on the price of Bitcoin, and for me, that makes me slightly more bullish than usual, because I still think there is some meat to be had left in this trade. I still think that Bitcoin's price surpasses $30,000. So I'm basically building a trade right now. My trade is currently entered on Bitcoin. I can show you the trade. It's open right here. As it sits right now, it's in a tiny profit. This is what it's cost me in funding rate and fees so far. But essentially, it's about $1 million long position. I'm not using 100x leverage. It's more like 3x or 4x or something like that. Again, the margin in here, I'm only using that to use as little margin as possible. But essentially, right now, I am long on the price of Bitcoin from $28,210. And as it sits right now, I'm pretty pleased with that entry. I mean, it could be better. It is a large trade. I might reduce the size of it in case Bitcoin's price drops down a little bit and then load up on one of those dips below $28,000. Like, there is still a potential chance that Bitcoin comes back down to around $27,500. So just keep an eye out for that. But I'm just not that optimistic that it gets there. And the reason for that is Bitcoin is flashing a very clear, solid buy candle here on the VWAP. These VWAP bands, basically, when you're testing the bottom of the VWAP band, generally it means buy, because then the price rallies back to the upside and starts hugging the top of it. It's been a while since we've hugged the bottom of one of these VWAP bands. There could still be a little bit of meat in the downside, but at the same time, I'm pretty optimistic. Like, we crossed through the bottom of the VWAP. We've got a 15-minute close right on the very bottom of the VWAP. So from my perspective in the short term, it looks like Bitcoin, in theory, should bounce right now. And you might notice as well, the background here is a little bit different from where it is usually. I mean, look at this view out of the window. This is clearly not my normal office, is it? Either way, where I'm at this moment in time, I'm in Toronto because A, business, and B, business, because I've got business in Toronto basically this next week or so, and then next week it gets even more interesting because I'm going to go to Sam Bankman-Fried's house in the Bahamas. Anyway, more on that over the course of this weekend, because this weekend we are getting to the Bahamas to look at where Sam Bankman-Fried used to live. But in the short term, of course, what is currently going on with the price of Ethereum? Now, Ethereum is looking very much the same as Bitcoin. From my perspective, what I'm doing right now is I'm mostly tracking Ethereum's Bitcoin value. I feel like Ethereum's Bitcoin value is going to tell us when the altcoin market's going to turn, and this really does look like it's on the turn at this moment in time. You can see over the past couple of hours now, Ethereum's Bitcoin value has been rallying quite significantly to the upside. But from my perspective, as we're coming into contact with this control line in the middle of the screen, I'm just pretty bullish on Ethereum versus Bitcoin right now. I feel like this is looping back around. In fact, if we go over to the daily chart, I've obviously drawn something in the past. There you go. This inverse head and shoulders pattern, I think, is starting to play out on the value of Ethereum versus Bitcoin. The only other alternative to this would be essentially Ethereum dropped back down to this lower purple line right here in its Bitcoin valuation, and that would only happen if Bitcoin were to pump to $32,000. So from my perspective, the more likely thing that will happen in the market right now is slight drawdown today, tomorrow towards the weekly close candle ending, or rather the stock market weekly close. It's not our weekly close. We don't ever close. Bitcoin's always open for business. But on that weekly close candle that we'll see at the end of this week, I would expect that on Bitcoin to be quite a positive weekly close this week, and I'm expecting more of sort of a bounce to the upside than I am anything else. Today will be interesting. It might drag it down to the downside, but that will present some nice opportunities here between $28,000 and $27,500, and I hope to capitalize on some of those opportunities. And of course, when looking at other markets right now, like Bitcoin dominance is looking pretty high. If Bitcoin starts breaking to the upside, you'll see Bitcoin dominance start breaking to the upside as well. If we zoom out on that chart, you can see that if Bitcoin is to start breaking to the upside, you'd expect more bleeding of altcoin valuations in favor of more money going into Bitcoin. And to be honest, look, if Bitcoin starts running, there's no reason why it can't run to $40,000, which is why I'm doing my best to mitigate any damage that could potentially come from opening $1 million trade right now. I'm entering, I'm exiting, I'm entering, I'm exiting, constantly paying a lot of money in fees. But to pay $3,000 in fees is nothing compared to the appreciation on $1 million worth of Bitcoin when the price of Bitcoin is at $40,000 versus where it is now at $28,000. That'd be $12,000 profit per Bitcoin, and $1 million Bitcoin right now, or rather $1 million in Bitcoin, is currently 34 Bitcoin. So if you've got 34 Bitcoin, each one appreciating, you get the point. Bitcoin. You make about 400k. So that's the trade that I'm looking at right now. That's the one that stands out to me as most interesting. At the same time, of course, the altcoin market should rebound at some point pretty soon. It's just getting to that point. Other things to point out would be the DXY. I pointed out the other day, it looked like it would drop to the downside. It has since I've drawn that green line to the downside. It did drop to the downside, just not in the short period of time that I expected it to. It just took a little bit longer. At the same time, if the DXY is going to lose this lower level of support here, literally bang on 102, if it loses the lower level of support at 102, you would expect significant declines in the value of the US dollar over the course of the next week. And Bitcoin will rally in that case. You would really expect Bitcoin is going to be pretty strong in that scenario. At the same time, have we seen bank stocks rebounding? No, we've not. I've just been to New York. I've just literally left New York to come to Toronto. And New York banks, they look rough right now. Not actually rough as in, the banks are in rough areas, but First Republic was not the busiest bank, shall we say. I didn't see a single person inside First Republic the entire time I was there, and I was staying literally right next to a First Republic bank. I also went around and took selfies with all of the banks because, it's nice to have some limited edition selfies in a couple of months' time. Now, we're not expecting the banking collapse overnight. This stuff takes time to play out. But one of the key storylines that we've been seeing more and more frequently recently is, could office blocks be the next big casualty of the banking crisis? In a story on The Guardian. I think that they will be. I think that office blocks will be huge casualties of the banking space. And one of the things you've got to understand is, look at these buildings that I've got behind me here. How much does one of these cost if I'm to stand on top of the sofa? That one there, huge building, keeps on going to the upside. How much money in office blocks? Well, if you work out, each one of these floors in here is $80,000 a month. At a bare minimum, $80,000 a month. That's a lot of different floors. Now, you've got to ask yourself, in this remote world, where we've got all of this remote work, why would anybody be paying $80,000 a month per floor? That's a lot of money over the course of a year. It's $1 million a year when you work out the cost of one floor. And a lot of people don't want that. And what you're finding is a lot of these huge rental agreements are coming to an end now after lockdown has ended. And they're going, look, we don't actually need this anymore. So you're seeing a clearing out of office spaces. This is meaning that banks have actually got huge loans out on a lot of these office buildings. And if these office building business infrastructures go bust from the lack of people actually wanting office space, that makes the value of the asset itself decline in price. It means that prices drop. And that means that you see a drop in commercial property values. And where is the second largest? To be honest, between mortgages and commercial mortgages, that makes up the bulk of all bank deposits. So when you deposit your money in a bank, around 60% of that money that you deposit then gets loaned out to other institutions that then buy properties, houses, mortgages, all these different things. They invest in debt. And that debt investment is getting more and more expensive with these interest rate hikes. At the same time, people don't want to use these huge, big office buildings. So you're seeing a decline in material value. When you see that decline in material value, people don't want to put money into this stuff. So where do they put money? They put it into Bitcoin. And that's one of the key reasons why right now Bitcoin is cheap. Like $28,254 per coin right now on Bitcoin is cheap. You can see, we've had a bit of a rally up to the upside recently from 26,000 all the way up to 28,000. And a lot of people right now going, it's going to go back down to 26, 25,000. Like I've seen a lot of calls for 25,000 right now. Let me draw on a chart what that would actually look like. If we were to drop back down on the price of Bitcoin down to 25,000, which is not out of the question, basically it would be trading all the way back down to this previous high. What is the likelihood of that happening? I think somewhat low, to be honest, because we're still trading to the upside of this previous level of resistance. And to be honest, Bitcoin is literally just trapped in this range. You can see this level of resistance here going all the way up and then acting now as support. So between these two ranges here, if we drop to the downside, sure, we will drop quite significantly down to $25,000. But for now, there's no point in taking a short down to $25,000 when we're still trading above support. If we lost support, fair enough, but support is currently sat at $27,300. If we lose $27,300, we'll probably drop. But for now, we're trading above it. There's no reason to be technically bearish on Bitcoin other than trying to preempt what's going to come next without any core reasoning for that, because ultimately, fundamentally, Bitcoin is very, very bullish right now, especially with the US dollar threatening a further decline, and of course with banking stocks getting absolutely brutalized. Now, yes, this is Deutsche Bank stock, bounced up a little bit recently, down from $8 up to about $10, pretty significant rise. But at the same time, it's failing to break this level of resistance. The narrative around banking decline is not getting any better. So you'd expect that, again, bank stock prices will continue their declines. It might take a little bit of time. Again, these things do take a long time because it's traditional markets, and traditional markets move a lot slower than crypto markets. In crypto, you can sneeze and 20 businesses go bankrupt. In the banking world, these people have got copious amounts of deposits. You've got to understand how much money is locked up in deposits in these banks. It's hundreds of billions, if not trillions of dollars in some cases, which is locked up, that they have access to some of that liquidity on. They can fund withdrawals from their bank accounts for a certain period of time, but not forever, because of course on a lot of these major banks, you'll find that around 65% of deposited funds are then invested in debt. In a lot of these smaller private banks, you'll find around 85% of investor funds, or rather depositor funds, are then invested into debt. When you have 85% of your money that is invested into debt, stock, anything like that, it creates a huge problem for the bank if those people want to withdraw. And that's what it looks like right now. That situation is not changing. So from my perspective, Bitcoin is bullish right now. Ethereum looks less bullish than Bitcoin, but still looks pretty gosh darn bullish. And to be honest, if you're going to jump into the trade early, it would be Ethereum versus Bitcoin. So from my perspective, I'm starting to dollar cost average some Ethereum purchases. The altcoin market is looking pretty decent. At the same time, one of the altcoins that is down pretty bad right now that I keep on buying little bits of. I mean, people keep on selling to me. I'm this 9.5 million bid here at 19 sats. If anyone wants to sell me 10 million coins, be my guest, because I'm accumulating, and it's going to go on a run in about 2 weeks time. So I'm pretty excited for what's to come next for TAP. I'm excited for what's to come next for Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin looks pretty decent, but at the same time, what's your stop losses? Stop losses at 27,300 on Bitcoin. Overall, though, market's looking positive. I'm $1 million long, and this place that I'm staying in is pretty crazy, to be honest. Like, look at this is the hotel room. You want to see something cool? Actually, I'll take you over here just before I end today's video. But look at this. When you walk into this hotel room, it echoes, which is one thing. But look at that when you walk in. What a view! It's straight onto this building over here. It's just cool. Never stayed in a place like this before. I mean, I've stayed in nice hotels, but never a hotel room, I think, of this size, because there's a spare bedroom in here. Not like I need 2 bedrooms, but there's another bedroom in there. Weird. Anyway, on that note, guys, have a great day. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye.